Hello YouTube, it's your boy B3 back with another kicking movie reaction review. Today we did a classic, Phantasm remastered. Basically just, digitally remastered, no big deal. But Phantasm is a film from 1979, rated R, hour and a half, 6.7 on IMDb, and a 4.5-star rating on Prime Video, where you can watch Phantasm remastered for quote-unquote free. Remastered 1979 horror classic about two brothers who discover that their local cemetery is run by a ghoulish mortician wreaking havoc on the damned. Directors Don Caraschelli, starring A. Michael Baldwin, Bill Thornbury, and Reggie Bannister. It's a horror sci-fi movie. I wasn't expecting the sci-fi, honestly. I was really just expecting the horror. Supporting actors Angus Scrimm. I believe he played the tall man, and he did a damn good job. It's from Well Go USA. Violence, sexuality, drug use, foul language, nudity. Yeah. It's, not as good as people say it is. I don't think it's as good as people say it is. It feels like there's a bunch of stuff that's in there just because it looks cool, and it doesn't really make sense. And then there's... Okay, so there's going to be spoilers from this point on. But, like, they turn out to be aliens. Or something. Like, the mortician dude turns out to be an alien, and he's turning dead people into dwarves to be slaves, because they have to be dwarves in order to withstand the gravity and heat on their planet? I'm not sure that makes sense. Really weird. The tall man himself is quite a creepy mortician character. And I was also watching this film from the standpoint of someone who works at a funeral home and is in mortuary college. There was this, like, flying ball thing, and it has, like, these two blades, and it pierces your head, then it drills into your head and shoots all your blood out the back of it. There seems to be no point in that, almost, other than to kill people, but, like, the sphere is an iconic image, and I don't know why, because it kills one person in the whole film. Yeah, that was weird. And then the kid, who's the main character, Mike, he's a creepy kid. He follows his brother literally everywhere his brother goes with no exceptions, including this one scene where his brother goes to the bar to pick up a chick, and he picks her up way too fast, like suspiciously fast. And then, like, they're having sex in the cemetery, and the little brother's just watching his brother have sex because he refuses to leave his brother's side, and it's so weird. The kid's a little creep. And then the woman he was having sex with, is actually a good thing the brother interrupted it, because that woman is actually the tall man. He disguises himself as a woman and leads men to the cemetery to kill them. But here's the weird thing. He doesn't kill them until he's completely gotten them off. Why take that extra step? It's so weird. He has sex as the woman like twice in this film, and it's so weird, especially the second time where you know it's him, and you're watching the brother about to fuck him, and it's like, what? Insane. But yeah, he seems to have all these supernatural powers, but I guess they're alien powers? Like alien biology or alien tech, because it says they're an alien, despite the film being called Phantasm, which is a very supernatural name. And I haven't looked up any behind-the-scenes stuff. I haven't looked up any story things, because I'm trying to do a raw review this time. Because my impression of the film was so strange. It seems like so many people just adore this film, and I'm really not sure why. I loved the trailer. I thought it was going to be one of my new favorite films, honestly. I thought it was going to be so cool. And I watched it, and now I'm like, it was okay. I think I think it's not as good as people say it is. I mean, I don't know. I honestly really don't know. I know it was a low budget movie, and that's cool. But I feel like the story is too convoluted, and there's just a bunch of stuff that's in it because it's cool. And I don't care that it doesn't answer all the questions. Let me make that perfectly clear. I don't care that it doesn't answer all the questions. In fact, I think horror movies are scarier when they don't answer all the questions. I think that's a good thing. Sci-fi movies should kind of answer all the questions, but horror, no. Just let it be in horror. It's scarier if you don't know. Like the brain will always imagine something scarier than the truth. Uh, like last night, right? I was in a watch party with my partner. We were watching A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. It was our last review. And they disappeared in the middle of the movie. They just stopped reacting in chat. And I was a little worried about them, even though I knew they just fell asleep, because they just fall asleep talking to me and stuff all the time. They're a very, very busy person and a very, very stressed person. Um, but I also wanted to, but still I worried, you know, even though I knew they were just asleep, which turned out to be the truth. Even though I knew that, in my heart, I was still worried, and because they disappeared during a movie. Weird how they fell asleep during a movie about someone who kills you while you sleep. I don't know how they managed that, but still, you know, the mind will always imagine something scarier than the truth, and that's a recent real life example to show that. But Phantasm, the tall man is a really cool, scary dude. And I feel like he carried this movie, but he wasn't in it enough. It's mostly the dwarves, as they call them, the undead dwarves. And the dwarves aren't that scary. The dwarves really aren't very scary at all. The tall man is kind of scary, but the dwarves aren't. And the dwarves were the main focus of the horror in this film. I don't know, I just wasn't a big Phantasm fan. Normally low-budget horror is like my favorite thing in the world, honestly. But this one didn't do it for me. If you love Phantasm, that's totally fine. I don't care. If you love it or hate it, it doesn't really matter. But I wasn't a big fan. I was entertained enough, but I wasn't a big fan. It had some weird shots, too. Like, there's the opening scene, which was really weird, where the tall man disguised as a woman gets a dude off and then stabs him. And then the next scene is like an establishing shot of the funeral home. So the dog is snoring. I don't know if you can hear her, but she's snoring. The next shot is an establishing shot of the funeral home, but then two men like walk into the frame from each other, like one from this side, one from this side, and they're like, "Oh, blah 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 blah," and it's really awkward and weird and unnatural. Um, the ending is cool. The ending's cool. I'll give it that. The ending's pretty damn cool. Where it seems like Mike the boy might have imagined the whole thing because his brother died in a car accident. So none of it really happened, and he's imagining the tall man. And then it does seem like that might be true because a man that he believed stabbed was there with him, saying that the tall man didn't exist and that he would raise him as his own because his brother was gone, which was very nice and very touching. But I knew the tall man was real because the film has 4 sequels, at least. I only know of 4, but yeah. And then the tall man shows up in his bedroom at the end and takes him. It's very cool. I kind of like endings like that, you know? I like endings where the monster or whatever shows up at the last second and then takes the person and there's no survivors in the film, or maybe like the person gets away scot-free but we see a teaser that the monster is still alive, like, you know, in a slasher or something. I dig that. I dig that. So yeah, it was a cool ending. Another weird thing is there are these two female characters that apparently the brothers knew very well, and we just walk up that we just get thrown into these female characters like we're supposed to know who they are, and then the female characters like there's no introduction to them, and then I guess we're supposed to feel something when they get abducted by the dwarves, and then one of the characters frees them before they can be turned into dwarves, and we just don't see that. It's just said that it happened, which I guess is fine, but those female characters were not introduced at all, and therefore were not introduced well. But all things aside, I think most people will probably enjoy Phantasm on some level. I mean, I didn't hate the film. I didn't dislike the film. I just don't think it's as good as word of mouth led me to believe. And I'm not sure I'd call it the level of something that should be considered a classic. But once again, people outnumber me, so maybe I'm just wrong. I mean, it's an opinion about a movie. You can't be wrong about that, because movies are just entirely based on your own personal tastes and opinions and etc. But that is it for Phantasm Remastered, 1979, rated R, etc. Fun little film, but I could leave it or take it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below. Facebook, Twitter, etc. Yeah, I guess I'll be moving on to the next film. And I'll see you all next time.